Hello and welcome to the final round of the Porsche Challenge series here at Simply Race. Our final round coming to you from Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. We apologise for the delay in getting into qualifying. We just had a few little small issues with the stream, but it looks like things are up and running now. Currently have Jack Bonney, who's jumped into pole position for provisional pole position, closely followed by Aidan Carter, although 3/10 off the pace there. So Chris, so lots of exciting things to come today. Yes, our champion Aidan Carter, that's all wrapped up, but P2 and P3 between Jack Bonney and Ben Bennyworth is all to play for. Adam Christopher not here today, so potentially could lose both second and third in the championship. However, if Jack and Ben both have a shambolic day, then you might luck out, but I'm finding it a little bit difficult to believe with only 8 cars on the track.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a stretch that both Ben and Jack could have that bad a day to not improve on their current positions. But yeah, those guys are fully aware of what's on the line. I imagine everyone's already assessed and looked at the points situation to know what they're dealing with. I think, you know, they're both good drivers. They both want to achieve as well as they can to end this season. I mean, Jack's currently showing no lack of confidence coming off his maiden win at Knock Hill last time out with his current provisional pole. So, yeah, looking forward to this one, mate.
Yeah, it should be a very exciting race. So the points difference between Adam Christopher and Jack Bonney is just 5 points. But Jack Bonney does need to take a drop round with that. And Ben Bennyworth is quite a few more points back on 143 points. But Ben has taken a drop round. So the gap between Ben and Jack is actually a lot closer than it looks. But we're not going to know what that drop round score is until the end of today, because Jack could have his worst round today. We don't know, or Ben could have a worst round today, and that could compound things as we see one of the Quatermass cars have a little spin and pirouette. So looks like Aidan Carter has decided to wake up and is putting a lap just 9,000ths of a second off of Jack Bonney, so incredibly close at the front for a track as big as Brands Hatch Grand Prix as well.
Yeah, especially, yeah, I mean, this is, you know, it's one of the longer, if not the longest circuit that's run over the course of the season. To have cars running that close on lap time, it's definitely good to see. As you said, Aidan's decided to wake up. I feel like that's always an inevitability rather than an if with Aidan.
Well, with just 6.5 minutes left to go now, we're not seeing a huge amount of improvements on the track, so it looks like it's quite a struggle to get that really good lap in. And looking at the lap times, we are seeing quite a bit of field spread once we get past the top 2. But Jack Bonney now putting in a purple first sector in sector 1 with a 24.867, which is far quicker than anything we've seen so far today. So it looks like Jack is looking to extend that gap as much as possible. Aidan's currently in the pit lane, just putting on a fresh set of boots to take another attempt to try and snatch pole. I think this will be potentially Aidan's final attempt with just 5 minutes and 45 seconds left of the session. But yeah, so were you surprised to see Jack so fast, so quick, or were you expecting Aidan to run away with pole position today?
Tough question, really. I mean, yeah, Aidan, generally, he's always at the front. He's very good at qualifying. As we've seen over the season, Jack has got progressively faster and faster round from round.
As he improves into the 124s.
Well, there you go. He's determined. He's going around to have that second place in the championship. I think he's got his eyes firmly on it, and he's going to do everything he can to get it.
Well, it's quite funny. I was talking to Gavin, who's Jack's father, just before the qualifying session, during the practice session. He said, well, I've told him not to focus on race wins, just score as much points as you possibly can to try and secure second or third. And
I feel like in Jack's head, securing as many points as possible is going to be try and win both races.
Yeah. It's always good to end the season on a high, so, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. As we're just watching John Dean Smith at the moment. Connor Daly currently on a personal best lap, so we will cut to Connor Daly's lap, see if he can improve on his time as he goes through sector 125.1. So a few tenths down on our out-and-out leader's pace, but still quite a decent first sector in comparison to the Gagala cars, which is third, fourth, and fifth. Jack Bonney going for another lap, but a little bit off the pace on this lap. I say off the pace, still faster than anyone else on circuit, but off the pace in terms of Jack Bonney's pace. So watching Connor Daly coming through into the final few corners as we come off of the GP loop and back onto the Indy circuit into clearways. On the brakes, nice and early, getting a nice early apex there, carrying a lot of speed, maybe running a bit too wide. Yep, way too wide there for Connor Daly. That's definitely going to affect his lap time as we go across the line. It's going to cost him a bit. He stays where he is in P5. Yep, that final sector really costing Connor there. Probably about 0.4 of a second, I'd say. It looked like a small moment, but that momentum shift of losing that speed is absolutely everything. And Aidan Carter has just put in a personal best sector in sector 1.
Yeah, Aidan's got those new tyres on now. The tyres he's got on will be the tyres he finishes the session on now, I'm sure. It's peak time for the fastest times. Lightest on fuel, the track's warmest. Get some new boots on and go for it now.
Yeah, these are going to be some absolutely amazing laps as we see Aidan attacking the second sector, real on the limit there from the track limits. Another personal best. No purple sectors as of yet, however, so we will just keep an eye on this lap to see if Aidan does improve and gets closer to the pole position time. As it was a purple middle sector according to that timing screen, but looking at our timing screen, it was not a purple sector. And across the line, and does go P1 with an actual purple final sector, 124.630. That is laying the gauntlet down and some.
Yeah, that's quite the marker to lay down this late in the session. I don't know. That could potentially be it. I don't want to call it too soon, but I don't think he's come in since that's Jack, that is, and I don't think he's got time now to get a new set of tyres on.
Well, Jack's on an out lap now, so Jack.
Oh, he has been in.
Yep,
okay.
So we're about to see Jack's final attempt. So Aidan's next sector, a 25.0, which is still good, but not really challenging the sort of sector times he was putting in. So we're just going to cut to Jack Bonney now. We're just going to watch this lap because I think this is going to be the best chance, or the only chance he's going to get. He might have time he will have time to start another lap after this one, but his tyres obviously won't be up to scratch. So coming through Paddock Hill Bend, getting the brakes on nice and early, little bit lively at the rear end, but Jack likes to dance the car around through these corners. Nice early apex there for Druids. Quite an interesting line there, Chris. Not one I would normally take. I'd normally take a much later one than that, but Jack's fast, so I'm not going to argue it. Through Graham Hill as we come on to as we're about to come onto the GP layout, and it is a purple first sector, a 24.864. So really putting the hammer down. But Aidan has also put in an improved lap time and has now done a 29.6. No, it wasn't an improved time. 29.694. So very close to improving. But we're just going to keep an eye on Jack Bonney now. So a purple first sector. What can Jack do in sector 2? Has he carried too much life out of his tyres in the first sector? Coming through the real high speed right-hander into the dip as we come up into... Oh, I always forget the name of this one, which is great commentary. Losing the rear end through here. Nice left-hander. It's not the best middle sector, but that first sector might rescue him. However, it was the final sector that Aidan put in that really put the hammer down. So let's see what Jack can do. Again, a nice early apex, carrying a lot of speed. Rear end absolutely all over the place, though. I don't know if this is going to be enough. We'll see as he comes across the line. It's a 124.883. It's P2 for Jack Bonney. He has got across the line, so he might be able to get another lap in. I don't know if he'll be able to improve, but he has gone wide at Paddock Hill already.
Yeah, I think that was his last all or nothing. He's backed right out. He knows he's done. Had to go for it. Fill in his rights to go absolutely on the limit, but sometimes it just doesn't work out.
And that is the checkered flag taken for the session. No one else really on improvements. Apologies for not listing too much of the other drivers during that session, but it was quite close at the front. So we have Aidan Carter P1, Jack Bonney in P2, Ben Bennyworth P3, John Dean Smith P4, Kostas Avram P5, Connor Daly P6, Aaron Daly P7, with Pierre Delby taking up the rear in P8. So we're just going to take a short break away from the stream, and we'll be back for the start of the first race. one here of Brands Hatch GP for the final race of the season. Aidan Carter, your pole position driver. Jack Bonney in P2. Ben Bennyworth P3 with John Dean Smith in P4. Costa Savran P5. Connor Daly P6. Aaron Daly P7. And then, last but not least, Pierre Delby in P8. So, Chris, I think it's going to be an interesting race, this one. Lots of tyre wear. 17 laps around here today. It's quite a lot to ask from these cars. So, confident of seeing some good racing, or are you more confident of seeing let's get the tyres home sort of driving?
I think based on qualifying that we could potentially have quite a good race on battle between Aidan and Jack. But as we've seen in the past, Jack likes to get a little more sideways, and by the end of the race, especially here, that could be a big factor. Aidan can generally look after a set of tyres a bit better. And so can your man in P3, Ben. He's generally not that aggressive on tyres in anything he races, and if Jack goes in too hard, he could find that his battle for second place could be literally on track as well as just in the standings.
Yeah, so obviously P2 and 3 being the main battles to look at, but yeah, so it's going to be a really interesting day. We'll try and keep you up to date with the points as much as we can. Apologies if we're a bit slow on that, because the drop rounds do make that quite difficult, I'm not going to lie. They do complicate things quite a bit. So we will keep you up to date as soon as we can, but I think we're going to see a lot of follow the leader for a little bit. And then I think it's just going to ramp up as all these goes. The pressure, the tension to want to make a move and to get those positions. It's just going to get higher and higher and higher as the race goes on. So we might be in for a relatively processional first half of the race, but then maybe once some drivers have warmed the tyres more than others, the second half of the race will will potentially be absolutely thrilling. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. I'm hoping for a thrilling race the whole race, but you can't have it all.
No, and this is one of them circuits. If you can't find your way past your man in front quick enough, you can sit behind them, you can pressure them, and as their tyres start to go, it's very easy, especially around the fast right-handers at the back of the circuit, just to pressure somebody into going a touch wide. They're on the grass, and all of a sudden you've got places for free.
Okay, so here we are for the penultimate time of the year. Our final cars just jumping onto the back of the grid now, as we now wait for the lights to get the race underway. And they're building up the revs, succeeding building up the revs, and off we go. So great start there from Aidan. Terrible start from Ben Bennyworth. He's already dropped down to at least P4, but amazing start for Aidan. Just really gets that car off the line well. Getting a little bit messy near the back there with Aaron Daly in the Quatermass car. Got Connor Daly alongside. No love lost there between the two brothers. As it's getting all a bit argy-bargy, and Costas has also not had the best start, dropping down to P6 there. So lots going on, and Jack Bonney also looking all over the rear end of Aidan Carter, not wanting Aidan to get away.
No, Ben Bennyworth's slow start really caused havoc for everybody behind him. Luckily, John was alongside on the line, so he's made the clear jump through into P3. And as you say, Jack's kind of doing what we thought he would do, and is just trying to turn the pressure on from the start because he's quick straight out the box. Yeah,
if Aidan can put in any of the pace that we saw from them in the qualifying session, then this is going to be quite a done deal, this race, in my opinion. But Jack's race pace does look decent in the practice sessions. It looked decent in all the practices that he's been doing. So I think Aidan's got a bit of a challenge on him. It's looking quite close here.
Yeah, Aidan and Jack got off the line fantastically, the pair of them, and I can see them two just checking out before not too long. And I think we just got to wait and see whether Jack's going with his own decisions, or if the advice from his father might weigh on his head a bit just to try and bank the points. But I don't think we'll start seeing any signs of that for a few laps yet.
No, well, where he is at the moment, I believe if he does this if he finishes kind of in fifth in both races, I believe that will secure P2 for him. I don't want to confirm that because my maths could be a million miles wrong. I am not Dan McKinnon, unfortunately. So yeah, I've just seen Aaron Daly has had a moment in clearways and has lost it all by himself and dropped quite a way down, so 12 seconds off. And there's also a very spicy battle shaping up between Connor Daly and Kostas Avram. So Kostas has managed to regain some positions, get back up to P5, but Connor's not looking like he wants that to be a done deal. I think this is the highest Connor's been in all season other than the reverse grid race. P6 at 1%, which showing from him. Yes, there was only 8 cars, but still he's ahead of drivers that have been all season, so that's good to see from Connor. Long way to go though, as Aiden decides, I'm going to put in the fastest lap of 1 minute 30, and being the only driver in the 1 minute 30s, and Jack Bonning being the only other driver to come anywhere near Aiden, but with a 1:31. The next fastest lap from that is a 1:32, as Connor gets back around Kostas.
Yeah, lovely battle going on towards the back end of the field. No, I mean, sometimes that drives people to drive better. Nobody wants to finish last in a race. So it's always a good incentive. I've been there myself. So, but as for the turn at the front, yeah, Aiden's just trying to pump in the time and check out. I mean, the last laps, in all fairness,
Very close.
they've pretty much matched each other. So Jack's settling in, and he's really not that far behind Aiden at all. It's only a couple of car lengths. So I think he's going to try and push him as best he can and see if he can potentially, like I mentioned earlier, try and push Aiden into a mistake. But Aiden's such a composed individual, that's a really difficult thing to do.
It's also that balance of trying not to follow too closely for too long. If you're following too closely through these high-speed S's, Hawthorns, Westfield and Dingledale, you're going to absolutely cook your tyres. And at the end of the race, you're just going to have nothing left. So it's a mixture of strategy, isn't it? So do you try and follow as closely as possible, put the pressure on, but then maybe ruin the tyres? But it's looking like Jack's lost 6 tenths of a second this lap already. That gap was 4 tenths. We're now looking at a second now.
Yeah, I was just, as you were talking, I was just watching him through those right-handers you were on about, and he was just a little bit loose and a little bit squirrely, and Aiden just managed to gap him. Whether it's going to to and fro and Jack turns out to be a bit quicker through the first half of the lap, we'll wait and see. But yeah, all of a sudden Aiden's just turned it on and it's like he's driving on rails.
Yeah, I think a little bit of a tease from Aiden there. Maybe you'll be fast enough, but that 1:25.6 is quicker than most people's qualifying times. So absolutely phenomenal pace. Again, the next fastest lap we've seen from that is a 1:26 from Jonathan Smith, and then everyone else in the 27s or 28s. So absolutely electric pace from Aiden Cutson right now.
100%. And the other thing just to bear in mind, it's very easy to get cut track warnings on this circuit, incredibly easy, and Jack's already picked up at least one as he's already had a lap time voided, and you know, you rack up the penalty points on that. If you're not careful, by the end of the race you're then tiptoeing around to not pick up a drive through, because that would be a race ender.
Yeah, and there are only 4 points yeah, as well. So it's not 4 cuts, it's each cut is determined by the software how it was, and it'll give you a set amount of points. For this race, for each race, it will 4 points. It's one of the lowest because we've been drivers been getting away with track limits a bit too much this year, so we're clamping down. It's more professional.
Yeah, that's completely fair. That is quite a tight restriction, and the biggest places you've got to watch. Well, the biggest place to watch there is really coming up around the back of the section, back of the track, up around through like Westfield and up into Sheens. Those 2 corners are so incredibly easy to cut and get a penalty for, and before you know it, you're just having to be so conservative to not get a drive through, because if you get a drive through in a race as short as this, you're done.
Absolutely, yeah. I think most drivers will just opt to stay out and hope that the penalty that gets added at the end of the race is not as severe, but I would personally try to okay, so still the closest battle on the track is between Connor Daly and Kostas Avram. Looks like this battle is going to be one that is going to last the whole race unless Kostas keeps doing that. So instant commentator's curse there for myself, so you're very welcome viewers for me ruining this race for you. So as we come up to Dingledale and to Sheens, out of Sheens, and finally into the second to last. So straight. Clearways with the final corner called Mark Curve. And John Dean Smith is off at Clearways. I'm going to call it Clearways because that's what I've always known it as. John Dean Smith off at Clearways. Dropping down to P6. Watch you rejoin, John. Yep, that's completely fine. Moving to P7. Looked like he dropped that all by himself because he was all by himself. So, over here, John Dean Smith.
Yeah, looking at where he's ended up, you've got to assume he's just ran a bit wide into that lap. Ran a bit wide, just kissed the grass, and that has just spun him, which in the Porsche is incredibly easy. It doesn't take much. And yeah, if he's ended up that far on the inside of the circuit, he must have just ran a little wide.
So we're just going to watch it now, coming through the first part of the corner, loses it really early.
There, he's just dropped it mid-corner.
I do want to sweat that this is insanely easy. As you mentioned, Chris, like tiniest little bit too much power. It's so hard to get these cars back under control. Even if you completely lift off, it's usually too late at that point.
Yeah, it's just the nature of the circuit with Brand. If you're in a rear-wheel drive, it's so easy to drop pit on pretty much any corner, and likewise with the touring cars later, if you're in a front-wheel drive, you can understeer yourself off the circuit at any opportunity here. It just doesn't take any effort at all for that to happen. So it's unlucky for John. He was looking in a very comfortable P3, but now he's got a lot of work to do.
So with the gap opening up on circuit as well, I think it's just a good time to just keep an eye on Aiden Carter's driving because it's so much to watch. 2.5 second lead now to Jack Bonney, with then another 4.5 seconds to Ben Bennyworth. So again, Jack and Aiden just on another level to all the drivers today, it must be said, and that's nothing against the other drivers, it's just the pace these two are able to show has been just so much faster than anyone else has been able to manage with these cars.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, these guys have been showing this all season. Aiden has been immaculate in his championship. He's been absolutely phenomenal. And Jack, coming into the series, he's just built race upon race upon race. He finally got the win. He's more than deserved throughout the year. And I dare say now, looking at the gap that Aiden's pulling on him, he might have looked at his telemetry and gone, yeah, second's alright for a race one.
Yeah, and yeah, he probably won't be so happy to see Ben Bennyworth behind him now compared to John Dean Smith, because I think that does keep the championship alive for Ben Bennyworth in terms of P2 in the championship. So he's probably a little bit irritated at that. However, he's just got to do what he's got to do and get to the flag. He might have a really good chance in race 2 with this sort of pace to get a race victory if Aiden's like somewhat held up by someone trying to get to the front. But we'll see. Obviously, that's a little way off now, but those races do tend to be the super spicy ones, so do stay tuned for that. This race 1 is quite a typical race 1, it must be said. Not much going on, unfortunately. But we will persevere and hope that someone does something exciting.
Yeah, I think the last couple of rounds, race 1 in the Porsches has spoiled us a little bit. This is a bit more what we saw at the start of the year. But it's just a testament to people who've found their way around the track in a different manner. And some people, it's like if any driver car in circuit combo, sometimes it just clicks, sometimes it just doesn't, and you just have to take it rough and smooth. Aiden clearly getting on very well with it round here. You know, considering he's got nearly 3.5 seconds to Jack now. Jack's no slouch round here. He's flying, and in all fairness, none of the drivers are slouches. It's just not working out for some of them. I mean, I don't want to wish this race away, but watching those faster guys starting at the back for race 2 will be quite entertaining. But you know, we've still got half the race to go. Anything can happen yet. We've seen how easy it is for people to crash.
Yeah, and we've got John Dean Smith looking all over the back of Pierre Delby, so trying to salvage something out of this race as well. So we do have a battle cooking up. This is the closest battle on the circuit by quite some way as well. These gaps are really opening up. 4.5 seconds between our leaders, another 3 seconds then back to Ben Bennyworth. So that was quite a bit in the last few laps, and another cut back there. careful. Don't throw away the P2 in the championship with track limits. God, that's the last thing you want to do. But look at this, John really shaping up Pierre Delpy now. So quite an odd showing from Pierre today. Last few rounds we saw a really strong side to Pierre Delpy's driving. This round, not so much. I don't know if it's the track, I don't know if it's the setup. It's very interesting to see, but maybe in round 2 we'll see a bit more of the Pierre we've seen in the last few rounds, as we see John trying to shape up a move around the outside. But yeah, I don't know about you, Chris, but I was much more expecting to see Pierre up in where Connor Daly is in P4.
Yeah, just as we see John do a classic cutback through that section of the track to get the job done. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised with Pierre. He's had a really good show in the last couple of outings. He's really come on a long way, and I know I keep banging the same drum, but maybe it just doesn't favour this circuit. It is a tricky circuit, and as a longer circuit, you've got way more options to make an error and lose time compared to the short circuits, and he just might not like Brands. It could be as simple as that.
It could be as simple as that, because it is a tricky circuit to get right, Brands. If you don't keep the momentum from the high speed section of the circuit as like setting on the GP loop of the circuit, you just suffer massively. A lot of people really struggle with Surtees going onto the GP loop itself because it being so tight. You yourself were having some issues with it yesterday in touring cars, if I remember correctly, when you were practicing touring cars, just trying to get that line right, trying to get the exit right. For me, I do a bit of an early brake. I do a brake that feels like it's way too early for the corner, but then you just seem to be able to just carry that much more speed around it. And you feel like if you brake where it feels natural, you just compromise your line so much. So it's a really unusual corner to get right, especially in these cars, but also in the touring cars as well.
Yeah, it's a really tricky corner that has a lot resting on it because it's got such a long straight off the back of it that if you don't get the right exit, people will literally just drive past you before the next corner, and there's nothing you can do about it. And when you're on your own, it's fine. You can experiment with lines, but as well in race trim, that is a notorious place for people to have a dive, which means you instinctively want to cover the inside, but the faster line is to come more from the outside and try and sweep through it. And it's a very tricky corner, and it carries massive rewards for getting it right.
So something I just want to point out, Connor Daly has started to absolutely obliterate the gap to Q3. He's actually tackling Ben Bennyworth at quite a fast rate of knots. That gap just over a second now. Quite a few seconds not too long ago. So Ben maybe having a bit of a messy lap somewhere. But his gap to Jack seems to have stayed the same. So I think Connor just putting in some good times at the moment. 1:27.7. So not too much faster than him on the previous lap, but that gap definitely coming down. And Connor on for a really good race one. I don't want to jinx it because we've still got a fair bit of the race to go, but this is the best show from Connor we've seen all season.
Yeah, he's, like I said, if Ben might have made a mistake somewhere, or because everyone's been so spread out, it's very easy just to get in your own little world and plod round, and obviously Connor's had something to stare at and aim at, and it's dragged him up, and if Ben hasn't noticed him yet, I think he's going to notice him very soon, and then yeah, we could have a good little battle towards the end of this race. I mean, Ben's not an easy man to pass. I tell you that from experience. But yeah, really good showing from Connor. Shot the top three, and I think he's going to be fully aware of that situation.
Yeah, and like when you see that car getting closer as well, it urges you to go faster, doesn't it? And then when you see your target getting bigger in front of you, it just urges you to get that move done as quickly as possible as well. So hopefully he doesn't overdrive the car, trying to do so. But yeah, we could be in for quite a nice final few laps here between these two. And Jack Bonney won't have any idea that this is going on. But if he did, he would definitely be cheering on for Connor right now.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, at this crunch point of the season, if you know anything detrimental's happened to your rivals to give you a bigger points advantage, you're happy about it. You know, there's not much he can do from himself in his position. So yeah, if he suddenly sees that the car behind's driver name changes from Ben to Connor, I think he'll be very happy with that.
Absolutely. I mean, Jack's definitely doing the right thing though today, just I think he has taken the advice on. I think at the start of the race he thought, I've got a bit of a shout here, but once Aiden started putting those laps in, I think Jack's strategy then just switched to, let's just get it to the end, let's just get this P2, let's get P2 in the championship, let's get that nailed. We don't need to win races to get it. Aiden's on another level today. You know, even though their two fastest laps are very close, the consistency that Aiden's been pulling off, the only driver in the 1 minute 26s at the moment, by a long way. Yeah, a second faster basically than anyone else on the grid last lap around. You can't compete with that. Like, Aiden's having a great day. Connor's starting to get a little bit squirrely behind him, maybe a little bit of we're overthinking it a little bit. Hopefully he manages to settle himself down, because the more you do that, the bigger the gap's going to get. But it is now down to 0.6 of a second, so definitely looking a lot faster than Ben Bennyworth now.
Yeah, I mean, he's carried so much more speed through Surtees, as we were talking about. It's a difficult corner. He got through there so much quicker. I mean, Ben's managed to keep a gap on him, but if he can do that next time round, he could be fully on him through this section of the track. And it's easy. You see that car in front get closer and closer, and you suddenly forget to just keep doing what you've done to get there. You try a little bit harder, you start to get a little bit out of shape. You drop back a couple of attempts, then you get annoyed that you've dropped back a couple of attempts. You start trying even harder. I'd always maintain it's easier to chase and be chased. But yeah, I think if Connor just keeps doing what he's doing, the opportunity will present itself. I mean, they've got 3 laps left to go. He's got plenty of time to get this done, and Ben just doesn't seem to be showing any signs that he can go quicker than what he's doing.
No, and Ben's not slow. Well, he's not one of the faster drivers on track at the moment, but yeah, this looks like he's plateaued at this stage. Look at Connor here looking really like that he's going to get this move done this lap. Like, it's going to be hard to do it on the GP loop. He won't want to do it on the GP loop because that's the hardest place to overtake. But he just needs to set himself up nicely, and look at that through Graham Hill. Really nice setup there. Bit of gravel from Bennyworth as we go under braking into Surtees, so the real tricky left-hander. And yeah, you can really see, and I think Connor's just lost it the rear a little bit. He's not lost too much time, but that could have bailed Ben Bennyworth out here. Ben Bennyworth could be thanking his lucky stars, just seeing that little bit of sideways momentum. Aiden Carter coming up to lap Aaron Daly. I didn't think we were going to be lapping anyone today, so that's an achievement in itself. Aiden Carter. I don't really know how much more praise we can give Aiden Carter, if I'm honest with you, but it's not enough. But yeah, so now Connor's got to recompose and calm everything down again, and then attack again. So as a driver, Chris, what's that situation like for you as the attacking driver? You've got to the back of them, you got a little bit squirrely, and now you've got to re-calm everything down again and try and do it all again. How's your mindset in that moment?
As long as Connor's learnt from that, knowing he's still got a couple of laps to go, if he's learnt from that, he'll be fine. I think it was purely a case of he knew he could get the run down that straight, and he just got a bit excitable on the throttle, which in these cars is not the way to drive them. You'll watch now, if he's learned anything from that, he'll be a lot smoother, even if it means he still has to be patient around the next part of the lap.
I mean, a lot of it could have been dirty. Yeah, he's still a little bit sideways, but nowhere near as sideways. Still gets a much better exit than Ben Bennyworth. Ben Bennyworth starting to get really defensive now as we go down into Pilgrim's Drop. It's almost impossible to overtake here, though, although he's definitely thinking about it. I mean, it's where John got past Pierre earlier in the race. So coming through the high-speed right-hander of Westfield, these are, you've just got to stay with them now. Like, maybe an attempt in Clark Curve, or maybe an attempt in Sterling's is definitely on the cards. But if I was Connor, I would be thinking about Paddock Hill going into Druids. I think that's always going to be your best shout to get the move done. Nice exit there from Sterling's, from Connor, but Ben Bennyworth is putting the car exactly where he needs to. Connor again getting a little bit squirrely. Tyres getting a bit hot following the car so closely as well, so you have to take that into mind too. Got to get these moves done quickly. When we come into Paddock Hill Bend, the gap now just 0.3 of a second. A lock up for Ben Bennyworth going into Paddock Hill Bend itself. and Connor just being able to have so much more speed going through there. And look at this through Druids, right on the back of him now, almost pushing him around the corner. I'm wondering if Connor's just thinking, I can get him on the GP loop. I wonder if that's the mindset Connor's got, because this is definitely a setup move here, as we're looking on the small straight, Cooper Straight, going into Surtees. Look at this wider entry here from Connor, try and get a later apex. And look at this alongside on the
and
exit,
a lap car
definitely
just for
alongside, and it's his own brother, but it's also Ben Bennyworth's teammate.
Oh,
so
the
what
drama.
do you do? What do you do if you're Aaron Daly? Like, just stay where you are. But look at that around the outside, beautifully done from Connor. Like, I have to say, that's got to be one of the moves, not just of the race, but nearly of the season, if it wasn't for the moves that Aiden was putting on at Croft and some of the moves that were done at Knock Hill as well. It's definitely up there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Ben would have given that up quite as generously if there wasn't a potential crash hazard circling the circuit in front of him. I think Ben just thought... I mean, yeah, I think that's why Ben was probably a little more conservative on the brakes than he otherwise would have been. And I think if that lapped car wasn't there, Ben would have really made Connor go right around the outside to work for it. But yeah, Connor finally... He did it. He kept his composure on the throttle. He started to make Ben at the start of that lap over-defend, which therefore compromised all his exit speed. And he's just got a lap to keep it pointing forwards, and he'll nab himself a podium.
I mean, it's not over yet because Ben Bennyworth looks like he's been fired up now by this. And Aiden Carter's off the road just to excite himself, I imagine. Okay, it was just a little run-off. Don't worry, not a crash or anything. Just wiping out some advertising boards, as you do. So Aiden Carter on the final lap of the race. We will cut to Aiden when we get closer to the end, because Ben Bennyworth is looking like he really wants to get this position back. But we will just quickly cut back to Aiden Carter, because it's just been such a flawless victory from the start of the race. Amazing start, had a little bit of pressure at the start of the race, but then got the hammer down. And coming into the final corner now, that gap has come down a little bit because of this little off that Aiden's had of the final lap. Aiden will probably be happy that we weren't showing him on this final lap because we missed it. And across the line to take the victory. Well done to Aiden Carter. Another absolutely perfect victory, but this is not over yet. Jack Bonney in P2 as well. This is not over yet. Look at this. Ben Bennyworth is he going to go for it in the final corner? He's a little bit too far back, but if Connor's a little bit squirrely, look at this. He's got a good run. This could be a side-by-side. Nope, Ben Bennyworth carries a bit too much speed through there, but it's very close as we come across the line, and Connor Daly secures P3 in race number 1. What a finish that was for those guys. Thank you, gentlemen, for giving us a lovely finish for this race. As Kostaf Pavram comes home P5, John Dean Smith recovers to P6, Pierre Delby is down in P7, coming into the final, is still coming around the GP loop, and a lap down in 8th position was Aaron Daly. So, wasn't the most exciting race in the world, but the battles, when we had them, pretty damn good.
Yeah, and I mean, out of all the back markers you could have picked for that situation, one car's teammate and the other one's driver.
Well, the other one's brother. Yeah.
Oh, the other one's brother, sorry. He is literally what... You could see him in his mirrors going, which one's the worst one to get hit by? And look, I think that's what pepped Ben up for that last lap. I think he knew he gave that position away a bit cheaply to avoid a situation. And, yeah, I mean, fair play to Connor. That he really came out of nowhere the second half of that race. That wasn't handed to him. He earned that. And full credit where it's due.
He definitely earned that. And on the final lap, it was just a tenth of a second between the two. And Connor really struggled on that last lap. He third, 28.304 compared to Ben Bennyworth's 127.942. So Ben Bennyworth suddenly woke up once that move was done. But yes, another massive well done to Aiden Carter, and then there you go, Jack Bonney in P2 as well. We're going to start doing some maths with the points very soon, so don't worry, maths fans, you'll find out who's where in the championship very soon. But we still have another race to go. We're going to be back with you very shortly. Thank you very much for joining us for race number 1. Join us for race 2, the reverse grid race. the final Porsche Challenge Series race of the year, and potentially the final ever Porsche Challenge Series race here at Simply Race, as we will be moving into something a little bit different next season, which is not confirmed yet, not quite confirmed yet, because had a car throw a spanner in the works, but we'll keep that all under wraps until we get a bit closer to the time, but do keep an eye out on our socials. So, final race of the year. Do you just go for it now, Chris? Is this the time to just be like, you know what? Let's go.
Yeah, and anyone out of this field that doesn't realistically have anything left to play for in terms of massive championship games or anything like that, go out, enjoy yourself, and go for broke a little bit. Do you know what I mean? This, as you say, it's a one and done for the Porsches. They came in one season, they're gone again. So make the most out of it while you've got it. And yeah, hopefully we'll see a few people like we saw Connor in the last race. Just find a bit of pace, a bit of confidence, and just go for it.
Yeah. So the grid today for this final race, I think, is going to give us an absolute cracker. So we've got Aaron Daly, pole position. Pierre Delby in P2. John Dean Smith in P3. Now he has to be favourite going into the race, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong on that, but I think he's got a very good chance of taking this victory. Costas Avram in P5. P4. Ben Bennyworth in P5. Connor Daly in P6. Jack Bonney P7. And Aidan Carter P8. Now my second pick for the race victory is going to be Jack Bonney. I'm just gonna say everyone.
Pick everyone, and then you gotta be right.
And then I'll look like a genius. No, okay. So I'm gonna say, I personally think so. John Dean Smith on paper should be the favourite.
Yes.
My head is telling me that Jack Bonney is gonna win the race.
I know I'm supposed to play devil's advocate, but I kind of agree with you. I think based on this grid, if John
disagree,
if John, you're right. If John can nail that start, and no disrespect to the two guys in front of him, but he is quicker than them, and John can overtake. So if he can clear them without any pressure from behind, while everyone else is having to navigate that obstacle, he could be gone. But I mean, I've seen it in Porsche races before, Aidan and Jack sort of inadvertently working together to carve their way through a field to get to the front. I'd pick one of those three. Which means if you've picked two of those three, I'll say Aidan just to be different.
Okay, so you're going to go for Aidan, just Aidan. We're gonna ignore that we've agreed with each other there. We're going to say that you actually vastly disagreed with me and that we're now no longer friends.
Absolutely.
So, I put a little picture-in-picture cam on Aidan Carter's car. We're away already. That was super fast. Right, so, start of the race. Caught me completely off guard. As they all go into Paddock Hill Bend for the one final time, John Dean Smith up the inside of Pierre Delby to instantly snatch P2. Aidan Carter's been run a little bit wide. Costas Avram up the inside of Pierre Delby to get P3 as well, nice and early into Druid. Pierre's gone very wide there, so might lose another position, and does so to Ben Bennyworth. So your order, Aaron, John Dean Smith, Aidan Carter off the track near the back of the circuit, but hasn't really made any gains. Jack Bonney already up to P6, Connor Daly down to P7, so a few position changes already. Pierre really struggling, really dropping all the way to the back of the field, as you can see on the picture-in-picture, getting overtaken now by Aidan Carter, and now Aidan having a look at Connor Daly going down Pilgrim's Drop to go into Hawthorne Bend.
So, well, John did exactly what we said he would do. He nailed the start. He's made the moves. That's him out front. I mean, fair play to Costas. He was trying to go with him, but he's just been held up a little bit. And then talking of being held up, Aidan has just not been able to make the progress. There has just been a Porsche in front of him every which way he's tried to go. Yep,
and Jack Bonney already up to P5, so climbing up the order rapidly, already on the back of Ben Bennyworth. So we might switch picture to Jack Bonney just for the time being. Are you still feeling lucky with your horse, or?
With the
it's only lap one.
Am I still feeling confident with the pick I was pushed into picking? Yes, fast.
So, John D. Smith leads after lap 1 and taking the lead from Aaron Daly. And look at this up the inside into Druids from Jack Bonney, up to P4 now from Jack Bonney. Jack just wants to get this done, doesn't he? He's thinking, I just want to win this race. As Aidan Carter now gets in front of Pierre Delby, still held up by Connor Daly, it must be said. So how big, how far, look at this up the inside going into 30s as well for Jack Bonney. Jack, he could be in the lead of the race by the end of this lap if he keeps doing this.
Did somebody tell Jack that this was only a 4-lap race or something? He's absolutely just gone for it, hasn't he? He's just not, he sees the move on and he's not thinking twice about it. He's like, no, I'm having that, I'm going. And thus far it's worked for him. And yeah, now he's just got, granted they're a little way up the road, but he's just got 2 cars ahead of him to chase down. The pace he had in the last race, he's more than capable of reining these guys in. Whereas the slightly more conservative approach of Aiden is not panned out at the moment, and he really is struggling. I mean, Bennyworth dropped right down to 6th now as well. He must have had a moment somewhere. He's struggling.
Yeah, he seems to just be struggling on a bit of pace at the moment. Jack Bonney putting in the fastest first sector of this lap as well, so absolutely flying, absolutely steaming pace from Jack Bonney. And puts in the fast lap of the race, 1 minute 26.885. Aidan Carter stuck in this traffic in the 128.
The outside though, he's gone round the outside from Bennyworth into turn 1. That's Aidan just reminded us that he can pull off the overtakes as well.
Yeah, Aidan has been doing that all season with these sorts of overtakes, and anything Jack can do, Aidan can downright do it as well. But Jack definitely in the pound seat at the moment, extending that gap. You know, with Aidan losing time behind these cars, it's going to be so important at the end of this race. But the gap's not that big, really, is it? When you think of the grand scheme of things and how large of a gap that Aidan was able to pull out at the end of race 1, your horse could still be in the running here.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's just, if he can just navigate these few cars like he is now.
Well defended by Connor, well intelligently backed out of by Aidan as well, but that has cost Aidan quite a lot, and that brings Bennyworth actually closer to his car as we're going into the final section of the circuit now. So now actually under pressure, which is not something you say often, is Aidan Carter from Ben Bennyworth.
Yeah, I mean, Aidan's very respectful of that. There is a lot of drivers that 100% would have left their nose in on that corner. But that's just not Aidan's style. He makes sure every move he makes is incredibly clean, and that's a testament to him. But
in all of this, Jack Bonney has taken P2, by the way.
Well, it's very much a blink and you miss him in this race. If you don't talk about him for a few seconds, he's done something else, Jack. He is absolutely on it. We just have to wait and see now. He's got the clear track in front of him. How quickly, if he can, that is, catch up to John, because out of everyone, John will be the hardest one to pass.
The gap is 2.5 seconds. They're both in the 1 minute 26s, so if they both keep up that sort of pace, it's actually going to be quite difficult, as we see Costas also lining up a move on Aaron Daly, really wanting to get that P3. As usual, race 2 delivering, as it always does. This is my favourite part of the Porsche challenge, in case you haven't guessed. Is the reverse grid race, because it always gives us this absolutely brilliant action where the drivers that might not be as fast do get that chance to get the race victories. And look at this, Aidan Carter up the inside of Connor. That was a very opportune move, holds the inside,
but Connor powered right round the outside of him and has told him absolutely not.
Absolutely brilliant driver from the two of them. Connor's on another level today. Maybe has Connor Daly been replaced by his IndyCar counterpart?
Confirm nor deny that after the race, but I said some drivers weren't favouring this track. This man clearly does.
Well, I tell you what, John D. Smith really wants to win this race, because he's just put in another fastest lap of the race and extended the gap to 2.8 seconds, nearly 3 seconds now exactly. John is rapid at the front, and I just think he's thinking, you know what? Let's just go for it. Let's give this car everything I've absolutely got. It's the last time we're going to be driving it competitively in the championship. Let's just go for it. Let's get the last ever win in these cars. And Connor Daly and Aidan still absolutely, like, just this battle's going to go on and on and on. Aiden's just going to get frustrated though. Down in P6 with Jack in P2. Has to be said, the way Jack manages traffic early in the race, it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, that is the upside to Jack's approach. It doesn't always work, but his success rate of just getting past cars in the first couple of laps is generally pretty good, and it's paid off. And yeah, Aiden has just found himself mired, because I mean, even if he gets past Connor, he's then got Costas. He won't just wade him through either. Aaron, fair play. He had a nightmare in race one, and he is holding up all these cars.
He is, and John Lee Smith puts in another fastest lap of the race, just to double down on the fact that he really wants to win this race, and the gap stays around the same as Jack pretty much matches him that time around. So, but yeah, and Aiden's got Connor.
Finally.
But Connor's fighting back around the outside of Druids. But no, that's it. Job done. As Connor gets a bit squirrely, which is going to put him under pressure from Ben Bennyworth, who will definitely want to overtake Connor after the last race. But yeah, so now Aiden is going to have to put all of their attention onto getting in front of Kostas Avram. So, how quickly can Aiden get this done? But it's not going to be easy, because Kostas is also looking at overtaking Aaron Daly. So now Aiden's going to have to wait for that to be pulled off. Look at this, around the outside. Thinks better of it, but this is going to give Aiden a hell of a run up the inside here. Look at that, beautifully done. And getting later on the brakes, pushing Kostas wide. That's a very brave place to put the car up the inside. But that was so intelligent there from Aiden, as Connor follows through as well. But now that's Kostas off the road. I do wonder if the stewards want to look at that move with Connor there. I don't know if there was contact. It looked like there was a little bit of contact, but the first move was fine because the gap was completely there. That second move, though, the following through, is a little bit tighter, so we will keep an eye on that. We'll let you know if we get any penalties with that. But look at this, Aiden now all over Aaron Daly and thinking, I'm going to take P3 from you, and I'm going to take P from you instantly. Up the inside at Paddock Hill Bend.
Oh, but ran wide.
Very wide, but carrying a lot more speed than Aaron. But Aaron's thinking, you know what? I'm done being overtaken, and is setting himself up. But now look at that, up the inside from his own brother. Connor absolutely barges into him there.
I mean, if the first incident doesn't warrant a review, that one definitely does. That was opportunistic or clumsy. You can decide.
Well, I don't want to say no love lost there because they're brothers, but that move looked like there was no love lost there, as Aaron runs a bit right and they come together again, but I would say that was more Aaron coming across. That's a shame for Aaron Daly there.
That one, at a glance, I would say was unlucky. Aaron was trying to hold the car from it touching the grass, and it's one of those, if there wasn't something to hit, he quite possibly could have held it, but that one was just unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just keeping on the gap to the front. John Lee Smith is just extending the gap. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if Aiden can close the gap to Jack Bonney. That gap is about 3 seconds. Actually, no, sorry. That gap is 6 seconds. Yes, 6 seconds between those 2 cars. So that's a big ask with less than 9 laps to go.
Yeah, definitely. That's quite the margin to rein in. I mean, the more I'm looking at this, I'm thinking potentially Jack has gone for the conservative approach. Unusually for himself, I think he has gone for P2 points.
Well, his sector 2 on that last lap is allegedly 66 seconds. I don't know what's happened there, because it definitely was not 66 seconds because he's still in P2. So apologies for the weird timing glitch. That was a bit strange. No, his times are good. I mean, his times are matching John, and John's fast at the moment. John is the second fastest, is the fastest driver on track at the moment by a tenth of a second to Aiden Carter. So that's a statement in itself, really. I mean, I don't think Jack's holding off, although suddenly that gap down to 2.2 seconds. So not the best first sector there from John. So suddenly the Napa car is going to get a bit bigger in Jack Bonney's front view. But yeah, I don't think it's a case of Jack holding off. I just think it's a case of John putting in a very strong case.
Oh yeah, I mean, no disrespect to John. He saw this as a great opportunity. He nailed the start, and because he's had a clear track in front of him, he's just been able to crack on with it and just go for broke.
So we'll just keep an eye on Jack Bonney for just the time being as those other battles start to settle down. We will keep an eye on Bennyworth and Daly for P4. Another very strong showing from Connor Daly.
Yeah, and I mean, he's
Potentially a penalty coming his way, but still a very strong showing.
it is a strong showing, and I mean, he's not been short of action in this race. So yeah, he just must be one of the few today that just generally get on with the brand's GP circuit.
I'll tell you what though, Ben Bennyworth is going to be thinking, I'm going to get you, because I did not enjoy being overtaken in that last race. So, and this feels personal now between the two of them. Not in a mean way, especially if Connor starts doing that with the rear end and lighting them up like that. Are we going to see a reverse of what we had in the last race of Ben Bennyworth being strong going, well, now Ben Bennyworth being strong going into 30s?
Potentially, yes, because, well, I allude to what I said in the first race. Chasing another car is definitely easier than trying to run away from one. Just got something to aim at, and if they were a bit quicker than you to start with, you can also learn a thing or two. So, and Ben's savvy in that respect. He can generally keep up with people. If he does get overtaken, he can generally keep up with them afterwards. So, yeah, he'll fancy himself having a go at this, especially the way he lost that place with traffic and stuff last time out. I don't think these two are done yet.
No, I think it's gonna go right down to the flag, and Bennyworth probably thinking I was a little bit too conservative in the last race, because I had a brief word of him. He felt he was way too conservative and had a lot more to give, but was more concerned about the tyres, as Aiden puts in the fastest lap of the race, a 1:26.1, which brings that gap down to 5.9 seconds to Jack Bonney. So Aiden not giving up on this one just yet, but that's going to still be a big ask, because that's still only half a second quicker than Jack Bonney.
Yeah, but it just shows.
I say only.
Yeah, it just shows how much Aiden got held up with the traffic. We know how fast he is. It's the psychological thing. Jack knows he's got a big gap in him. If you suddenly start seeing that come down half a second a lap, you're going to start to question yourself.
Absolutely, but I think the best head at the moment on the whole field is John Dean Smith, who's just seen the super quick drivers behind him and is just not letting them get closer, holding that gap at 2.2 seconds to Jack Bonney and 2.3 now. Obviously, if Aiden is able to do anything about Jack, he might have a very small sniff at victory, but he is going to have to put in a hell of a performance as Connor Daly gets overtaken by Ben Bennyworth. So the revenge has been made. That was a bit argy-bargy.
Well, yeah, Connor losing the car almost scared Ben off the road himself to take avoided action, and it would have been an unusual way to defend the position.
Oh, well held, sir. That's a shame, but well held.
Yeah,
must be said.
that is a shame for that battle, and Connor won't be happy with himself for that, but he was just trying to come straight back at Ben.
So all of a sudden the gap to the lead is down to 1.5 seconds.
Yeah,
so I say John's doing really good, and then he goes and does that and makes me curse it. That's on him. I'm not taking that one. I'm not cursing him. That's him.
Oh, well, I've watched this a couple of times. Totally cursing, by the way. I've watched this a couple of times. His sector one does seem to struggle compared to the others, and either he just can't get one of those first couple of turns hooked up, or it must be errors, because he's not on pure pace 0.8 of a second slower through 3 to 4 quarters of a lap.
Because their sector 2 is pretty much neck and neck, and then Aiden comes along and smashes everybody's party with a 38.8. Just, hello, I'm still here, and yes, I am ridiculously fast. And that gap now down to 4.8 seconds, by the way, so that's coming down at a vast rate of knots too. So let's not count Aiden out just yet, as that gap for the lead is now down to 1.2 seconds.
Aiden's just on another fastest lap of the race, 25.8. He's on an absolute charge.
I'm hearing a lot of shouting, but I think that we've just got quite a few spectators in the venue, so I'm not sure if that's to do with that. But I'm hearing a lot of words, which is interesting. So keep an eye on it. But I can't see anything untoward as Aiden Carter puts in a 25.817, the fastest lap of the race.
Lead's
by
under a
long
second
way.
now as well.
Lead is under a second, and Jack's going to think, you know what? I want this win. I really want this win. Let's end the season in style. And if Aiden Carter stays P3, that will win him the event as well. So, fair play.
Yeah, considering what a bad start to the race he's had, Aiden really does just grind out results.
Yes. Oh no, I mean like if Jack is able to overtake John, Jack will win the event today.
Jack's on
if that
right,
makes sense,
got you.
because
Yeah.
Aiden's in P3.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, Jack.
So,
Well, if Jack's crunched the maths on that and knows that's an option,
and this will absolutely guarantee Jack will get P3 in the championship. I'm pretty certain of that.
oh yeah, definitely. That I'm sure he must be getting that P2 now.
Yeah.
He's gonna want to end it with a win.
We've still got 5 laps to go.
And I think we're entering the realms of seeing offensive ability John's got in that Porsche.
Absolutely. Aiden is giving it everything. I've just seen him running so wide at paddock, just pushing and pushing and pushing. So here is our battle for the top 3 in one screen whatsoever. Okay, so from Aiden's view, you can only just see the 2 cars in front. Don't count Aiden Carter out though. That pace is electric still.
Yeah, and as soon as these guys start swabbing,
That
that
gap's
time
coming
is
down.
going to tumble. And Aiden will see that. And be like, you guys keep tripping each other up. I want to get in on this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think if it finishes as it finishes now, it will be a tie for the event, which means Aiden will win the event because of the race victory. I think that's how the points add up. Look, I'm not good at maths, okay? But Dan's probably watching this, laughing, being like, ha ha ha, peasants. While I'm trying to do very basic maths in my head, I'm fairly sure that would be the outcome. Whereas if Jack wins the race, that wins him the event.
And as a man who's even worse at that, I will blindly agree with anything we say on that video. So we're in it together.
This is good. This is very good. It's not a commentary, it's a dictatorship. Right, so Connor Daly putting in a personal best in sector 1. Okay, I thought there was a driver shouting. No, it was someone in the lane. It sounded like one of our drivers until I really listened to it. But anyway, so we'll just keep focusing. Apologies for the little radio silence there. I was just a little concerned. So, last laps. Aiden in the 25.8s. John and Jack in the 27s. Yeah, this isn't done yet, is it? The gap down to 3.7 seconds for the top 3, and 8 tenths of a second for our top 2.
I would say, watching Jack, he really wants that win, and he is getting that car so loose on corner exit on the throttle. I think he's borderline starting to push too hard.
Yeah, maybe just overdriving the car a little bit too much. It can be so tempting to go for that win, you know, and he doesn't need to go for the win, but it would obviously be a great way to shake off the end of the year and look like. But if you talk to Jack, he loves a car that dances like this. He loves dancing the Porsche through the corners. It's his style. He's always been into oversteery cars, and we found that like anything that front wheel drive he struggles with quite a bit, but rear wheel drive cars that are loose, he loves them. And Aiden is exactly the same when it comes to the rear wheel drive cars. So a very similar style with these two. So a very, very bright esports future ahead for Jack.
He's really done himself well this year in the Sports Championship. He's made a few errors, but that's just learning. That's just learning and getting the hang of things. There's no doubt the pace he's got. Like I said, he just seems so comfortable with a car that looks like it's permanently trying to crash. I mean, it's a joy to watch, but I mean, for poor dad watching, it must be an absolute stress constantly.
Well, that gap down to 2.6 seconds now for the top 3, and the gap to Jack from Aiden 1.6 seconds with 3 laps to go, including this one. It's really starting to heat up. Aiden might snatch P2, you know. I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen from here. I really don't know what's going to happen from here. but Aiden is the fastest of the two. But how quickly can he dispatch them when he gets there? That's going to be the key. If he gets stuck behind Jack, I think it might just stay as it is, you know. But if he could make the most of this pace difference instantly, he could be on target for the win. Like, 2 seconds for the lead now.
And then just to wait.
Oh, Jack's very squirrely through paddock, and Aiden's
it
very
worse.
wide.
Just to wade in with a more boring technical matter, all three of these guys have pushed relentlessly. I mean, state of the tyres, that could be part of the reason. I mean, John's really slow
look
through
at this now. That's a proper 26-1 in the first sector. Look at this up the inside from Jack Bonney. He's going to try and get the overlap for the race lead. This could still happen, you know. Like, and Aiden's right there as well. If anything goes wrong, this race started off extremely exciting. Sort of bubbled up for a little while, but now we're here for a cracking finish with these top three. John's probably just thinking, please wave the checkered flag now as we're coming through into the second half of the circuit. Jack very wide there, but that's going to make him under pressure from Aiden. I think that might have just saved John there, because now Aiden's going to be thinking, you know what, I can do this now. What a lap. It could just stay exactly the same as it was, as I said, but the thing is, Aiden's got so much more pace than both of them. Jack looks really like he's being held up now by John as we come across the line to start what will be the final lap. And here we go, last lap. Go get it. Come on, lads. Give us an amazing end to the year. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, John seeing Aiden's car suddenly appear in his mirror along with Jack's would actually have probably made him feel a lot better, because now he's almost inadvertently got help.
Yes.
Jack's got the worst position now. He's got to try and find a gap while not leaving himself wide open to a car and driver who is notoriously good at picking cars up.
Yeah, but that was a very clever line there from Jack, but almost a little bit too early on that apex, because look at the run that Aiden's got down the straight. Here we go. He's going to go side by side. He's going to try around the outside. That's going to be a hell of a move if he can get that done.
What a squeeze by Jack. He knew just enough room to pull across him before he hit the brakes. And that was clever defending.
Absolutely brilliant defence there from Jack Bonney. But Aiden's not done yet. Definitely thinking, okay, all right, let's give this one more go. Not many opportunities to go now, though, and John a little bit squirrely there, but I think he might just have this set, or does he? Because, it's getting really close now, and
who's gonna send it?
Who is going to send it? There's a big lock up there from John. There's a very big lock up there from John. Look at this from Aiden, looking at the outside to maybe go side by side across the line. Who's going to get it? It's John Dean Smith, followed by Jack Bonney, and then Aiden Carter in P3. What a finish. What a brilliant finish for those three drivers. I don't think we could have asked for a better finish than that. No, the positions didn't change, but did we need them to? Not really. That was really exciting. What a brilliant drive. Ben Biddyworth comes home in P4. Connor Daly comes home in P5. P6 for Kostas Avram. Pierre Delby's going to make it home for P7, and Aaron Daly in P8. But Chris, wow, what a final lap!
Oh yeah, absolutely. Shout out to anyone that stuck with us from race one, because there's your payoff. It's come a race later, but there's the payoff. That was quality. Yes, the positions did stay in the end, but all three of those top three drivers absolutely went for it. You know, fair play to John, holding off those other cars at the end, when he easily could have just scared himself and made an error and waved him through. Jack to just hound him, but yet defend so well from Aiden, and then of course the absolute rocket ship that is Aiden, that just came back from nowhere, and another lap.
Yeah.
You don't
often ask for one more lap,
but generally one more lap, and that would have been spectacular.
Yeah, although I enjoyed that to the end because the tension was so high. I thought that was like really. I know the positions didn't change, but the tension was there. Anything could happen there, and Aiden just giving it all to the line. I don't know. I just love that sort of perseverance and just that never giving up sort of attitude. But yeah, well done once again to our champion Aiden Carter. I'm fairly certain Jack Bonney has secured P2 in the championship, which means I think Ben Bennyworth might just snatch P3 from Adam Christopher. I need to do the maths. Might have just snatched it because he has had 2 very good races, 2 P4s. It's very strong showing in the points there. So we will let you know as soon as we do. We'll probably update you for the touring cars. But from me and Chris, that is us signing off for the Porsche Challenge Series this year. So thank you all very much for watching. We really hope you've enjoyed this championship, and we look forward to seeing you for whatever next season brings.
Yep.
Shall we tease it a little bit? Shall we tease it just a little bit? Or
Yeah, go on.
okay, so it's either going to be MX-5s or Radicals. So both of those sound quite good, don't they?
Yeah, and I can vouch, having driven both of those cars. Either would be a great option and a great addition to this championship. I think you'd get some really exciting racing out of either of those cars, and the drivers that enter, I think they'll absolutely love them.
And on that note, we'll end. So join us in a little bit later on for our touring car coverage. But for now, from me and Chris, thank you very much. Have a lovely rest of your day.